Read between the lines. The key unwritten rule by which all in Japan are expected to abide, and the toughest task for any foreigner here. I didn't recognize the signs, and I'm not even sure foreign-born Hakuho did. Sumo's response to the Hadamafuji incident was our coded warning. The anti-violence committee set up in 2018 was done so on the pretext of stamping out off-dohyo violence sumo-wide. When it reported 6 months later, it was clear the end was more sinister: to blame Hadamafuji's outburst on his nationality. Put simply, if he were Japanese, he wouldn't have done it. As you know, this is patently absurd. Hadama told us in his book that he learned to be violent from his Japanese seniors, just as they had learned from their seniors in days when nearly no foreigners competed. Nevertheless, the committee's claim was uncritically absorbed, and Sumo set to work on the premise that violent foreigners needed reschooling, not only on anger management, but on all kinds of local traditions. To that end, this being Japan, another body was set up under the seemingly innocent title of Expert Think Tank on How to Pass On and Develop Grand Sumo. On the surface, these words hint at a fascinating remit: to find ways of getting even middle-aged Japanese back on board with a sport that has hemorrhaged fans since the 1990s. In practice, this body was working on the premise that foreigners are the chief threat to sumo's traditions and future. As you know, this is also absurd, not least because many of the men they call foreigners have been to high school in Japan. In some cases, even elementary school. And there is no sense at all that sumo's foreign-born coaches, who are now legally Japanese, have anything other than an impeccable grasp of culture, values, and language. Just as can be said of these fine figures. Yet, despite 2 years' worth of activities and expenses claims, the committee still can't realize that most problems in adjusting to stable life are the same for Japanese as they are for foreigners. A sumo stable is simply a different world to anybody walking in from the modern Japanese street. Today, that committee has made 2 misguided recommendations. The first, that so-called foreigners must be better immersed in local culture. And I really await the specifics on this, for I can't see how they can place 14-year resident Hokuseiho and 2-year resident Shishi in the same boat. And second, in my view unforgivably, that the likes of Hakuho should not receive honorary elder stock. Honorary single-generation elder stock was created in 1969 to reward the first man to win more than 20 top division titles, Yokozuna Taiho, who was, of course, half Japanese. Since then, every wrestler with 20 or more titles to his name, bar the one forced out in disgrace, has received it. And for the past decade, Hakuho has expected to receive it, and formed grand plans accordingly. Today, though, the pettifogging committee has said that as the honor is ad hoc and not in the rules, it shouldn't exist. Still, absurdity reigns. Why not simply advise rewriting the rules to include the honor? In fact, why obsess over this and ignore the fact that half the sport is based on unwritten convention? How does today's decision sit with 0 criteria for deciding ranks, other than sliding counters up and down a sheet in a heated discussion? None of this seemingly concerns the chairman, who has said he will accept the recommendations, and his board will discuss the ending of honorary elder stock. Thus has a purported discussion on sumo's future concluded with a sharp message and stomach punch for a man finely versed in its traditions and to whom sumo owes at least half its current popularity: Hakuho. And could even a between-the-line reader such as he have foreseen that message as you will never have your name on a stable wall, and will need elder stock from somebody else, assuming we let them sell.